Hi there, I'm Rosa and welcome to my channel. So I am just getting things started and really excited to finally start a YouTube channel. It's something I've been thinking about a lot. I absolutely love YouTube and I spend way too much time on here. So I'm really excited to be able to start my channel. So just to introduce myself, like I said, my name is Rosa. I live in LA and I wanted to start this channel because I want to talk about things regarding self-discovery and self-acceptance, particularly as maybe other people are going through a similar experience of trying to find, yourself, your interests, your passions, and maybe you're going through a pivotal time in your life. So that's what I want to talk about and share and show you guys the process of my self-discovery as well as self-acceptance. For context, I wanted to share a little bit about my background and what led me to this place basically. So I spent the last 2 years working on my own company. It had always been a dream of mine to be an entrepreneur, and I finally decided to take the plunge in 2020. So I started a fine jewelry e-commerce brand, and I only focused on 14 karat gold. I think particularly growing up as a Latina, jewelry and particularly 14K jewelry was something that was super important in the way that we presented ourselves, and my aunts, my mom really showed up in the world, and I took that as inspiration to design, but also really hone in on this, I guess, message idea of how you can present yourself through the use of fine jewelry. So I spent 2 years working on that, and I recently shut that down last year. It was an incredibly hard decision to go through and to also then process like after the fact and whatnot. And you know, it was really hard because it was a dream come true in some ways. But what ultimately drove me to that decision was financial reasons, but also what I was willing to sacrifice from my future for Miel Oro. So after a few months of kind of going back and forth, trying to decide and figure out what made sense and some last ditch efforts, I finally made the decision to shut the business down in August. After that, at the end of the year, kind of felt like I'm starting from ground zero or starting from the beginning again and sort of having to rebuild myself and trying to figure out who I am, what I want, and you know, what the next step is going to be for me. I also went through a lot of transitions, I guess you can call them, last year, in the sense that I got married. So, you know, I was sort of starting the beginning of my family and looking at, you know, what my future was going to entail in regards to that and how I wanted to live, you know, day-to-day life to be able to build towards a future that I desire. And one of the biggest things for me, of course, is family and being able to think about like how I want to set myself up for a future family. After I shut down my company in September, I actually took some time and we went on our honeymoon, but it was also a time to travel and to just kind of disconnect after everything that had happened with, you know, having to shut down a business and then sort of start that mourning process of shutting things down and rebuilding and restarting and trying to figure out like, oh my God, what do I do next? Prior to starting Miel Oro, I had spent like 6-7 years almost working in sales for advertising and tech companies. I had a chance to live in San Francisco, New York, and then I eventually moved back to LA, which is where I'm originally from. And, you know, I have that experience on my background, but I'm sort of trying to figure out what makes best sense for me and how I want to live my life, not just work-wise, but also my personal life. So where I'm at now, I'm really on this path of self-discovery, and with that acceptance, I am putting myself in a place of sort of being a student, which I guess I always have that mentality, but I think more so now, in trying to understand what I like, who I am, without these preconceived notions or without fear. So a couple things that I've been doing right now is that I have really been like curious about woodworking. So I've actually I took a class for woodworking a couple months ago, and I recently like invested on very minimal tools. So I've been spending a lot of time with that, and just I guess letting my creativity come to fruition through woodworking. And what's nice is that I get to build things that I need around our place, like storage and shelves and all that good stuff. And what's so special is that, so I live in an apartment in LA, so I don't have a backyard. So I actually go to my parents' house to work on a lot of this stuff. And what's been really special is getting to spend more one-on-one time with my dad. And he just like is really into it too. So we both get to work on these projects together, which is incredibly special. The second thing that I'm working on right now is learning to play the guitar. From a very young age, I've always loved music. I did dance quite a bit when I was smaller, and that was kind of one of my sports. Dancing was something that was really special. So I danced for a long time, but music has always been something that I love and I connect with. So I'm learning to play the guitar, and let me tell you, it is very humbling to be completely knowledgeable in these two areas, something like woodworking and playing the guitar, and learn how to do it and take the steps and take the risk and really delve into the learning part of it. And the last thing that I've been focusing on a lot right now is growing from, I guess, like a fitness standpoint. I have always loved to exercise, and it's something that just brings me so many emotions. One from like for example, the happiness, the high that you get sometimes. I don't know if people talk about that as much, but I certainly, when you get those really intense workouts, you just get this like flood of good endorphins and serotonin, and you just almost get this like high feeling. I also just love challenging myself, and I think you'll see this as a trend. But challenging myself is something that is really special to me. I love to like kind of push myself to the edges and see what happens there. So I say the third bucket of areas that I'm really exploring right now is just expanding my fitness level. Like I said, I've been very active for most of my life, but now I'm really delving more into the science part of things, trying to learn as much as I can. And I really want to focus more on strength training and just a lot heavier weights, less reps, and so forth. So I'm definitely exploring more on that. And that kind of ties into food, I guess, and overall health, physical health, I should say, which I think is something that I don't want to say struggled, but I indulge a lot in. I think especially being Latina, like, you know, food is such a central part of your community and how you interact with your family. And we have so many amazing foods. So, and I think there's also this tone of, you know, as a kid, you're always told like you have to finish everything. Like, you know, your parents grew up with like no food, so you have to finish everything, you have to eat it all, kind of thing. So I think where I struggle on that front is really just not indulging all the time. So I love sugar and I have the biggest sweet tooth, so indulging is definitely a big part of like what I love to do. I am kind of looking for jobs, but the current market within especially the tech space and advertising space is a little tricky, like you might be seeing in the news, a lot of layoffs. And, you know, I don't know, I take this, I guess, as a blessing in some ways that like maybe this is just not my time for that. And this is the time to just get to know myself and work on myself and explore my interests and learn to love and accept who I am as a whole. I think this is like an ongoing journey, of course. Particularly as a Latina and particularly as a woman. And the last sort of thing that I'm going through right now and exploring is actually home buying. And so my husband and I are looking to change our lifestyle significantly. So like I said, right now I live in LA and I grew up in LA, so this is home. But I've only ever lived in major cities like San Francisco, New York. I went to school in Santa Barbara. So city life is like all I know. And it's sort of been part of my identity for a really, really long time. And my husband, you know, about a year ago was like, I really want to move outside of LA, and I sort of want to have a small farm and, you know, get away from the city life and go to a quieter space and be able to have, you know, chickens, goats, and be able to farm things and grow food and just really be connected to the outdoors. As a side note, you know, starting 2020 when the pandemic hit, we actually started doing a lot more of exploration outside. So we started backpacking and like hiking, which has always been something that I do, but backpacking is a whole different realm, you know, because you're bringing everything in, you climb for many miles, and you're camping completely alone in the middle of nowhere, you know. And we absolutely loved it. So I don't know, maybe that's where some of the interests came about. But anyways, we are currently going through the process of looking at homes in basically outside of Sacramento, about an hour-ish outside of Sacramento in Northern California. And we're considering homes that are, you know, significantly bigger than what you can get in LA, but also that have land so that we can plant things, have a small farm. I don't even know if that's the right term. So again, I am like city girl transitioning to this lifestyle, which I'm in the process of trying to transition to that lifestyle, which I don't know, it's like mixed emotions, because a big part of me again has that identity and that connection to being like a city girl and like, you know, having your nails done, your makeup and your jewelry. And not to say that you can't do those things, but it's like there's just a whole different vibe there, and that part of my identity that's like, I'm a city girl, you know, it's like being shaken now. And I guess that's part of exploration again, and that's also part of acceptance, because I think that sometimes I've tied worth, maybe like higher worth, to somebody that's like city versus like somebody that lives in a more rural area. And who's to say that one is better than the other, you know? Just because it's glamorized so much more doesn't mean that it's actually, you know, a better, or that you're a better person and that you have more value, more worth, etc. So that's another big transition that I'm going through. In summary, my hope with this channel is to be able to share my path to self-discovery and share some of these things that I'm doing, as well as maybe tips that you guys can make use out of, or maybe just entertainment and watch somebody going through this. And then the second part is the self-accepting part. So accepting all sides of who I am, my interests, my loves, you know, my personality, my culture, and everything else that comes along with that. I'm super excited to share this with you guys. If you want to keep up with this whole path to self-discovery and acceptance, then definitely make sure to follow and stay in touch.